The day I moved into my new home, my dream home, the one place I thought I could finally breathe again after the divorce, Karen Brightwell, the HOA president from across the street, stormed into my driveway, snatched my house keys right out of my hand, and threw them straight into the storm drain. 30 seconds later, she smashed a landscaping rock through my living room window while my daughter screamed behind me. And the worst part? My house isn't even in her HOA. I didn't know it then, but that moment, the rock, the glass, the shrieking, was the official declaration of war from a woman who'd been running a quiet real estate scam for nearly a decade. And I was about to blow it wide open. My name's Marcus. I'm 45, newly divorced, and after months of scraping through listings and paperwork and court dates, I finally found something that felt like a fresh start. A 1960s ranch house sitting on 2 acres. Big enough for weekend projects, plenty of space for Sophia when she visited Quiet Green Open. And best of all, absolutely, undeniably, legally outside the jurisdiction of Willowbrook Estates, HOA. No dues, no architectural committee, no Karen with a clipboard. I even dug through plat maps older than I am, walked the property with a surveyor, checked every inch of deed history. My land existed 15 years before the HOA was ever built. I thought that meant safety. I thought that meant freedom. I thought wrong. The first sign of trouble came 2 weeks before move-in. I was doing a walkthrough with the inspector when I noticed a white BMW pull up across the road. The door opened, and out stepped the woman I would eventually learn to fear, loathe, and honestly almost admire for the sheer audacity it takes to be that awful. Fire engine red blazer hair sprayed into architectural perfection, sunglasses sharp enough to cut steel, and a walk that said she owned the whole city. She didn't introduce herself, didn't smile, didn't even say hello. She just marched straight toward us and said, "This shed is non-compliant, and that paint color is not allowed, and that tree branch needs to go. Sightline obstruction." I didn't even know who she was. I just blinked and said, "Ma'am, none of that applies to me. This house isn't part of your HOA." Her whole face went tight and purple. "We'll see about that." Then she spun around heels, hitting my driveway like gunshots, and slammed her car door so hard the mirror shook. I should have known right then. I should have known someone like that didn't hear no, didn't accept no, had never even considered that no was a possible answer in the universe. Move-in day came. Movers were unloading boxes. Sophia was twirling in circles in the yard because she loved her bay window bedroom, and I was knee-deep in honeysuckle and sweat when Karen's BMW pulled up again and just idled. 10 minutes. Engine running. Her staring at me like she was sizing up a wild animal trespassing on her manicured territory. I tried to ignore her. God knows I tried. But of course she didn't leave. The door opened. She got out same red blazer and stomped across my lawn with the confidence of a dictator stepping onto a balcony before a speech. She didn't even introduce herself before snatching my house keys out of my hand. I yelled, "What are you doing?" and she hurled them into the storm drain with this satisfied little smirk like she'd just solved the neighborhood's biggest problem. Then everything exploded. The rock, the window, the scream from my daughter, the sound of glass raining onto hardwood. The shriek she threw at me. "You don't belong in Willowbrook Estates." The way her perfume mixed with the smell of fresh-cut grass as she dragged her car keys across the entire side of my truck, leaving silver scars down the red paint. And when she finally peeled away tires screeching, it felt like the air itself vibrated with hatred. A neighbor shuffled over slowly like a man approaching a live wire. Frank Martinez, thin-weathered, barely above a whisper, muttered, "She's done this before. 3 families in 2 years. Be careful." Then he slipped away as quietly as he'd come. That night I sat on the floor with Sophia in my lap, sweeping up glass, trying to calm her down, trying to convince myself this was just a one-time meltdown from a power-drunk woman with too much time on her hands. But the next week proved me wrong in every direction. Code enforcement came, and then came again, and again, and again. Anonymous complaints, my shed, my drainage, my grass height, my mailbox. By the 4th visit, the inspector actually laughed. "Your lawn looks normal, man. Someone's messing with you." Karen started a petition among her HOA members demanding an investigation into boundary irregularities. 17 signatures from people who had never even waved at me. I didn't want trouble. I didn't want drama. I just wanted peace. But peace was impossible with a woman who had made everyone's property values her personal religion. And slowly the constant harassment started wearing me down. I stopped sleeping. I started snapping at people. There was a night one I'm not proud of when I sat alone in the dark and wondered if I'd made a mistake buying this place. Maybe I should sell. Maybe I should just cut my losses. Maybe I didn't belong here after all. But the turning point came the next morning when Frank caught me in the yard and whispered, "Get a surveyor. And cameras. Lots of cameras. She documents everything and she lies." So I did exactly that. $800 for a professional survey that placed my house a full 15 feet outside the HOA. I printed the documents and practically slept with them under my pillow. Then I installed 4 cloud-backed security cameras covering every angle of the house. Good thing I did, because Monday morning at 6 a.m., Karen was on camera sneaking across my lawn, snapping pictures of my shed like she was on a covert mission. Tuesday night, her teenage son Tyler egging my truck at 2 in the morning. Wednesday, Karen herself, hood up, scissors out, snipping through every garden hose I owned. That was the moment I stopped doubting myself. That was the moment I realized I wasn't the problem here. So when Karen called an emergency HOA meeting to address the disruptive property across the road, I decided to show up. She had a whole slideshow of complaints, grainy photos of my yard, dramatic warnings about declining property values. Her voice dripped with superiority. She expected applause. Instead, I asked Mind if I share something. I plugged in my laptop, hit play, and let the footage roll. Karen on my lawn, Karen cutting my hoses, Tyler egging my truck. The room went dead silent. You could hear the air conditioner humming. Karen's face drained from smug red to ghost white. When the video ended, she sputtered something about context, but it didn't matter. Her image as the neighborhood tyrant just cracked loudly. People approached me afterward, apologizing, whispering their own stories. The Johnsons said they were considering quitting the HOA entirely. Frank introduced me to 2 more families she'd bullied. The spell had been broken, but the battle wasn't over, not by a long shot. Karen escalated. She filed an insurance claim accusing my oak tree of being a hazard. She called my mortgage company claiming I'd lied about HOA status. I was drowning in letters from companies asking for verification. Then came the safety patrol. Groups of neighbors walking by my house every 2 hours with clipboards like they were surveying a crime scene. Leading the pack was Brad Kellerman, an unemployed ex-cop with a hero complex and a too-tight polo shirt. Brad took the job way too seriously, squinting at my lawn, photographing me washing my own car. One afternoon, while I was tossing a softball with Sophia, Brad marched right over and said, "Sir, I need proof of residence and tax receipts." Sophia froze glove mid-air. Something inside me snapped. "Excuse me," I asked. He cleared his throat. "Suspicious activity reported. I need to verify you belong here." And then he said it. "You people don't belong in this neighborhood." The softball hit the ground. My stomach dropped. I felt heat behind my eyes. I held up my phone and said, "Can you repeat that for my attorney?" Brad went pale, paper white. He stammered something, backed away, and nearly tripped over his own feet. That moment changed everything. Not just for me, for the whole neighborhood. Because that evening, the Johnsons officially quit the HOA. Frank started greeting me openly in his yard, no more whispering. Karen's safety patrol withered until only Brad remained pacing alone with his sad little clipboard like a mall cop without a mall. And then came Rosa, Frank's daughter, paralegal in real estate law, smart, sharp, prepared. She walked into my kitchen with a stack of documents, spread them across my table, and said, "Marcus, Karen has sued 4 neighbors in the last 5 years. All of them eventually sold their houses to a company connected to her. Dirt cheap. And then the houses were flipped." My stomach turned. "You're telling me she's been doing this on purpose?" Rosa nodded. "It's a pattern of harassment for financial gain. It's fraud." Everything clicked. Every complaint, every photo, every false report, every family who'd mysteriously moved away. She wasn't just a power-tripping HOA president, she was running a quiet, well-oiled shakedown operation. And now I had a reason to fight. Week after week, the evidence piled up. Karen launched a smear campaign, online photoshopped pictures, fake accounts, rumors about a dangerous new resident. It backfired when Beth Williams, a local photographer, publicly called out the edits. Karen kicked Beth out of the HOA Facebook group. Beth responded by starting a new group 40 families joined in a weekend. Momentum was shifting. Rosa kept digging. She found discrimination patterns. Karen always targeted the vulnerable, the elderly, minorities, young families. She found court records, property transfers, settlement agreements. She mapped everything into a timeline that read like a criminal indictment. We were ready. The final blow came when Karen called another emergency HOA meeting, claiming I was a threat to community safety. Police were invited. The room was packed. Even a reporter showed up pretending to just observe. Karen strutted up front with her laser pointer and a slideshow of manipulated images. She spoke like she was delivering a presidential address. And then right before she finished, Rosa stood up. "Everything you're seeing," she said loudly, clearly, "is evidence of real estate fraud and targeted harassment." She played the unedited footage. She showed property records, court filings, audio of Karen threatening me, offering to buy my home before things get unpleasant. Statements from Frank the Johnsons, Beth, and more. The room erupted. People yelling, gasping, confronting Karen. Then Officer Rodriguez stood up and said, "Karen has filed 12 false police reports this year. This is part of an ongoing investigation." Karen snapped. She screamed about conspiracies and sabotage. She accused half the room of treason. She pointed her laser pointer at me like she wanted to stab me with it. And then the district attorney's investigator announced that her real estate license was suspended pending formal charges. And the HOA, finally free of her grip, voted her out on the spot. The next day, Karen tried one last stunt. She showed up with a moving truck and a crew of day laborers ranting about citizens' arrest. She grabbed a hammer and started swinging at my newly built deck on camera in front of half the neighborhood, screaming at the top of her lungs. Police arrived. Cameras rolled. Karen was cuffed while shrieking incoherently. It was over. Just like that. A week later, she pled guilty to vandalism, paid thousands in restitution, faced 6-figure fines for fraud, lost her license, and then vanished, moved out of state. Her house listed quietly at a loss, no fanfare, no goodbye. And as I watched her BMW disappear down the road, I didn't feel triumph, or joy, or victory. I felt relief. Because sometimes standing your ground isn't about winning, it's about refusing to let someone take away your home, your peace, or your dignity. And if there's one thing I learned from all of this, it's simple. Bullies thrive in silence until someone finally says enough.